It is time for Around the 412 with Smitty and Tyler.
Welcome back to another episode of Around the 412. I am Tyler. With me, as always, is my co-host Smitty. Go follow us on all of our social medias at Around the 412. Also, go check out our YouTube channel. Subscribe if you haven't already. Crazy the numbers I see every time I look. Every single week. It's like normally I see some YouTube people posting that like 50, 60% of the people watching their videos aren't subscribed. With you guys, it's like 90%. And I just don't understand it whatsoever. So go subscribe to our YouTube channel. You're watching the videos. It's free. You might as well do it while you're here. Also, leave a like on the video if you like what you're seeing. Leave a comment if you have any questions that we can answer in any future episodes. Also, go check out the description of the video, whether you're over on YouTube or you're listening over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you find this podcast. You'll see a ton of links that we have in the description with some of our sponsors, but the top one is not going to be a sponsor. It's going to be year 7 of Rocking Around the 412. It's our Christmas fundraiser where, with the help of everybody that donates, we provide children in the local 724-412 area, Pittsburgh area codes, Christmas this year and years past, but we also partner with the East Rochester Salvation Army and help adopt kids off of their angel tree as well. So if you're interested in that, want to donate or want to share the message or learn more about it, it is going to be the top link from now until middle of December. So go check that out. This is the Pirates episode, and I'm so excited to talk about another Pirates episode. But since it's baseball related, I feel like I need to bring it up that we are on the same level. According to the Washington Wild Things, as now Pirates Hall of Famer. Is he a baseball Hall of Famer as well, Jim Leyland, or is it just Pirates Hall of Fame right now? I'm not sure, but we are on the same level as Pirates Hall of Famer for sure, former manager for the Pittsburgh Pirates, Jim Leyland, because he is in the baseball Hall of Fame. He is in the Baseball Hall of Fame. So we are on the same level as a baseball and Pirates Hall of Famer, former manager Jim Leyland, who will be throwing out the first pitch in the Washington Wild Things Game 2 of their playoff series. We are neck and neck. We are basically the same caliber as Jim Leyland. I wonder if this guy's going to throw a strike. We got to get it on video. We got to analyze the tape, see what's going on with it. Because if he bounces it, I don't bragging rights for years to come. Yeah. Jim Leyland bounces it. I don't.
Is he going to have a cig in his mouth? I mean, there's a lot of questions that I have about, how this whole thing's going to go down when it does happen. But that's super cool that he's doing that. They got him to do that. Again, the Wild Things, they got a great thing going on there, and they're having a great season. So I'm happy that, Jim Leyland's going to take part in that. Should be a great crowd, I would think, too, for that as well. So shout out to them. Go win the whole thing. Washington.
Definitely the best baseball team in Western Pennsylvania.
And that's what we're here to talk about. Anyways, we always do these in basically what happened over the last week type of deals. They're actually going for a sweep right now of the Cubs. If they were to do that, they would win the season series over the Chicago Cubs, which is interesting because the Cubs have been making a little bit of a push. They've been pretty good this month. They're 3 games over 500, kind of getting back into the mix of things here in the NL wildcard picture. But the Pirates, I don't want to say have had their number, but they've been the better team head-to-head this year over the Chicago Cubs, which is pretty interesting. Also had a series with the Cleveland Guardians in there as well, where they only took 1 out of 3. And I believe that was the last series. What day did we record last week? Was it the last game of the Cubs series going on? Or
yeah, the last game of the Cubs series had just ended. We recorded on Thursday. So we were in between the Cubs. Yeah, because the last time we talked, the Cubs had put up 41 runs in 3 games.
Oh, right. Yeah, and it was a series where they had the 3 guys.
Series, where they had Jones, Keller, and Skenes all pitching. So that they got cold takes, exposed baseball images that preceded unfortunate events. It was not very good. But they did play Cleveland, who is leading their division. I believe Cubs now up to second in the NL Central. Whenever they were last place for a long time. So I mean, kudos to them for climbing back in there. I mean, they're still, I think, like 10 games back.
I don't think. But and I don't think they're going to end up with a wild card either.
No, I don't think so either. But they at least weren't a disgrace down the stretch like the Pirates were.
That's true. I'd be having a lot of fun right now if I was a Cubs fan watching what they've done in the second half. I only really want to highlight one performance here. I want to talk about one player specifically, what they did in August. But over this last stretch of baseball over the last week, the guy I really want to highlight here, Luis Ortiz had a start against the Guardians on Saturday night. 1 hit given up over 6 innings. I know we haven't paid a ton of attention to what's been going on with the Pirates lately. That certainly caught my attention, that performance, where I saw what he was doing. So I had to tune in and just watch him kind of pitch out the rest of that game. But he was very good that night. Last night, I'm always going to watch when Skenes is pitching. It was a grind for him to get through 5. But it's funny because, like, you very clearly, even the nights where he doesn't have his best stuff and he's really battling and stuff like that. And I said this before, and I said it might sound stupid, but the dude just knows how to pitch out of situations. Like, he's not just going out there and throwing the ball. So he's able to get himself out of jams because he knows how to sequence, what to call, what time, and just how to get himself out of the jams that he's put himself in. So yesterday, did it time and time again where there was, guys in scoring position, bases loaded, less than 2 outs, still goes 5 innings, gives up no runs. And that's what I mean about just like the high floor that this guy has, is because even on his worst nights, he's still good enough to give you that.
Yeah, his worst night, I just looked at his box score. For those listening, watching last night, I'm still feeling parts of the sickness, but I fell asleep at 7 p.m. Didn't wake up for 13 hours after that.
It kind of screwed up the recording schedule around the 412, but
it did. Sorry about that. You can blame Kennedy. She got me sick. Blame my wife. 5 innings pitched, only 4 hits still let up, which I know like 4 hits with Skenes is like, seems like a monumental amount, but only 4 hits in 5 innings, not terrible at all. 4 walks is the one where it's surprising, but still 0 runs given up, 6 strikeouts, able to pitch his way out of it. And like you said, this is something that you talk about with certain pitchers in the league where they are pitchers, not just throwers of the ball. And they know it's more of an art form than actually just selecting a pitch and throwing it. He knows how to get himself out of those jams. And when he is in his worst, he's still one of the best, which is what you want. Even when he is struggling, he doesn't feel the pressure. He doesn't feel that weight on his shoulders, knowing that every single pitch is dangling over his head right now. I think that looking back at it, it looks fine. And looking at his performance, not just this season, but even over the past couple weeks, like even I was looking at his like last 15 days, and he has like still like a 2.1 ERA. By far and away the best pitcher on the season. Year to date, it's 2.1. Last 15 days, it is 1.13, even lower than that. Still, at times, whenever Paul Skenes struggles, he's still the best pitcher on the team, one of the best pitchers in baseball. On the topic of Paul Skenes, do you think that they should just keep pitching him the rest of the season, or do you think that he should be shut down?
I've gone back and forth with this. I don't know that I care. As like bad as that sounds to not pick a stance.
Well, if that's one of your only reasons to watch, that can keep you intrigued the rest of the way.
Yeah. The other part of it is, dude, like imagine if he does get hurt. Like it's always going to be, I don't think that you can operate that way as if like, the fear of somebody getting hurt. But imagine if he does suffer like a catastrophic injury in the home stretch of the season here when they're playing meaningless games. So like, I don't know that I would have
September 29th and he has to get Tommy John after that. Like,
yeah, I mean, don't even put that in the ether, but like, yeah, it's not something that I think that they're thinking about. But at the same time, like, we talked about innings limits anyway. Like, so if they were to go that route, whatever, if they don't, if he let him pitch out the season, great, because I think that's, just more experience for him, and just going to be able to ride into 2025 on a high. I think that we're both under the assumption that he'll get the ball on opening day next year. So, that's kind of where I'm at with it. I don't necessarily know that I've planted my flag in either camp.
Well, he's already to this year, he's pitched 114 innings, and looking back at what he did in college, the most he ever pitched was 122 and 2/3 innings. So he's approaching, like in one more game, he could hit his ceiling in a season before.
And that's the thing, people like kept bringing up like the length that he would go in one game at LSU, but it's less games. Like that's the thing. Like, I understand what people are saying to some degree, like because Shelton got all that flack when he pulled him when he had given up no hits or whatever. But like you're staring down the pipeline of this innings limit, and it's not, and I'm not talking about innings in one game that he had pitched or number of pitches thrown. I'm talking about over the course of a season, the amount of pitches and innings put on that arm. So, I think that was a big debate, but I don't think it was viewed in the same scope that it probably should have been. So I don't know. Whatever they decide to do with him, I'll be honest, as bad as the Pirates have been, as much as I want them to clean house, as little faith that I have in this organization right now overall, the development of pitchers, like finding and developing pitchers, that might be the one thing that they've gotten right. And there's not really a thing that they've done so far with Paul Skenes' path that I'm questioning. So, like, whatever they've been doing, go ahead and keep doing it.
Well, at this point, I feel like he would be, I mean, maybe this is an ignorant thing to say because I don't know how much value you put on a coach whenever it comes to a talent like that and what they bring to that player. But
right,
I feel like it would be a lot harder for a coach to screw him up at this point than it would just not doing anything and letting him be. Like, I don't really think a pitching coach can really screw him up a whole lot like he could, for example, like a Quinn Priester. Like, I don't think those two are on the same level. I think at this point, not only is he older coming into the league because he played several years of college, more pro ready, but he's more mature and he is just a greater talent. I feel like when you're that elite of a talent, it's just hard to mess up.
Sure. I mean,
but
getting a
I
guy
will
like
say
that,
too. So I was going to say too, like finding guys like, for example, Bubba Chandler, they haven't screwed him up yet, and his trajectory is like we could see him as early as potentially sometime next season.
And to be honest with you, they actually had a button to push there that could have gone wrong. Like they've made him a pitcher. What if they would have said you're going to be a hitter or let him continue to go both ways? I think it's pretty clear that they've made the right decision there with him just focusing on pitching. So yeah, I mean they've pressed a lot of the right buttons pitching wise. That's only half the battle. So they're not there yet, but you got to feel, I guess, at least some solace, or you can take some solace in the fact that they've gotten that thing figured out. And to your point, I mean, when you get a guy like Paul Skenes in the organization, that's just a total game changer. What's going on, everybody? Smitty from Around the 412, and I just want to take a quick second to give a shout out to our folks at Game Changers. Their logo on the screen right now, right above my microphone. Over 2,000 different designs in their catalog. Luxury heavyweight material. I am wearing one of their shirts right now. Best vintage t-shirts in the game. Head over to gamechanger.la or pick6.la to pick up some shirts. And guess what? Use code AT412. Save yourself $10 on your order every single time. Again, gamechanger.la or pick6.la. Best vintage t-shirts in the game. Check them out. Maybe never a better time than right now to get in on the Game Changers. They just dropped the new NFL pack, over 50 new designs released. I've also put in, I don't think they've come out with it yet, but I've put in Tyler's request for him for a Steve Young BYU design, which they thumbs up. So I'm guessing that they're going to produce that as well. If you share Tyler's love of BYU football, that's on the way. But yeah, a new NFL pack just dropped, over 50 new designs. So they've gone from 2,000 to 3,000 since I first recorded that promo. And I'm guessing they're well on their way to 4,000 at this point in time. So shout out to Game Changers. Be sure to check out that link, code AT412, save yourself $10. But yeah, I didn't plan on talking that much about the pitching of this organization, but that kind of did occur to me. Like, for as much as I would like there to be turnover in the front office at the coaching level, and to be honest with you, I do think that that's going to take place. Like, unless there's some drastic improvement the rest of this month, I don't know where you're at. Predictively, I think Shelton's gone, Cherington stays.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what we were talking about even just a few weeks ago before the turn took like a really bad turn. I think that we even said that like it's easier for Cherington to keep his job than it is Shelton. We were fine moving on from Shelton, and I think at this point should almost be an expectation. I would say maybe.
Why do you think that is? I'm not saying that I disagree, but why do you think that is, that it's easier for Cherington to keep his job than Shelton's? Because of what I said, like you think that there's at least some organizational foundation with the pitching that's been created?
I was even more so just looking at it like, well, one fires the other, so it's easier for Cherington to keep his job from that standpoint. Plus, I don't really trust Nutting's judgment as far as GMs go. So, at that point, it didn't really have a ton of baseball behind that answer. It's more so one's above the other, and then the other is kind of in a safer spot, I feel like. But if it's up to me, I think both should be gone. But I would say, like, for pitching, and just to add to the pitching conversation that we were having, the starting pitching in particular, especially at the MLB level, is what's been good. The bullpen is where it's more questionable as to like the pitching development of those guys and what they did this year, because you've seen even just recently major step backs from a lot of those bullpen arms. I mean, we're talking like letting up several runs in outings, and that's just not something that we were expecting at all. It's not something we were expecting from key guys at all either. I mean, like what we saw from Colin Holderman several weeks ago, what we saw from David Bednar just recently. At times, Aroldis Chapman. I mean, there were several guys that we were counting on this year that kind of just dropped the ball in that bullpen. But when I look at guys like, and this is more so over several years with this one, but like what Mitch Keller has become over the last several seasons, that's a sign of progress in that pitching development. But even just this year, what Bailey Falter was for the majority of the year, I know there's been some like step back from what he was. But
what he's given you, it's still above expectation.
Still, as a fifth pitcher, I think that you take that every day of the week. What Jared Jones was able to do, you mentioned Luis Ortiz and his recent performance, what he's been able to do at times this season. The starting pitching by far has been more than anybody had hoped. That's a nod to that development team. I just wonder, where's the disconnect? And maybe it's just because of the specific arms and the talent that they have with them. But like, where's the disconnect from what you get out of the pitchers that are starting the games as opposed to the relief pitchers? Why are they not able to get the same progress?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is there. I'm not sure if that's, at a certain level within the minor league system. Like, I have no clue what the answer is there.
Yeah.
So the last thing that I wanted to bring up, though, was Oneil Cruz's month of August. Obviously, you can just look at the surface numbers and see how good they looked at the highest batting average of any player, of any hitter in the month of August. Also, when you look at his OPS right there with Aaron Judge, actually, his OPS versus left-handed pitching in July and August was second only to Aaron Judge with 1.199 in July and August. So the reason I wanted to bring this up, right, is because the numbers are what they are. But even just watching them take place, watching him against left-handed pitchers, I just feel like there's a growing level of comfort there, which you would expect is, more as time goes on, he gets more reps against them and stuff like that. That's why I could never understand just kind of like pigeonholing the people that, and I'm not saying the team did, but fans pigeonholing him into this role where he just like had to sit against lefties, or, well, the team did to a degree because he would bat lower in the lineup against lefties. He'd be hitting like seventh if there was a left-handed pitcher. But, I know that we're talking a little bit smaller sample size here, 2 months as opposed to an entire career, but watching him over the last couple of months, specifically against left-handed pitchers, maybe that's the most positive thing that we could take out of this entire season at this point, because it's certainly up there for me, because there's got to be a growing level of comfort with him to throw him out there in any situation now going into 2025.
Yeah, 100%. I think when you look at the last 2 months, August specifically as well, just because of the major jump in statistical value, but there's been a lot of growth. I mean, we talk about growth of the pitchers. We got to talk about the growth of Oneil Cruz. This is someone that we've harped on a ton this season, because early on in the season, we weren't getting the production value out of him. We weren't relying on him to come through with his bat. And if he's not coming through with his bat, then what are we doing here? Like that's what he's known for. That's what he should be doing at the MLB level. The fact that he's able to turn it around, have the closing out to the season that he's had so far. I mean, it's a tough couple of games in September so far, but hopefully he gets it through the end of the season. But man, I think that was the switch to center field needed for him? I don't know.
I mean, when did that happen? Better? I feel like it was already 171 WRC plus in August for him as well. I feel like he was already I mentioned it was July and August against left-handed
Yeah,
pitching.
well,
and
you
he's
you
right
see
there,
over
so-
his overall numbers, and I don't know
Yeah.
what his numbers versus left and right were for the month of like July and August, but overall numbers for July and August, you started to see a rise in his batting average, his on base percentage, and his slugging. In July, he had a 271 batting average, 323 on base, and 553 slugging. That raised to an alarming 389 batting in August, 449 on base, and 537 slugging. The surprising part about his August numbers was that he only had one home run. Like looking at his stats across the board, it's like, how did he only have one home run with the numbers that he was getting? I guess he was just playing a ton of small ball. Like his numbers were still insane though. But I think that's something that you need from Oneil Cruz is to be able to rely on him because he's one of the cornerstones of this lineup. He's one of the cornerstones of your franchise. If you're only able to play him half the time, then you can't really rely on him for that. He needs to be able to be in the lineup and batting against righties and lefties at a pretty much equal pace. And I think he's starting to do that.
Absolutely. That's why it's like, if he's going to be able to do that, I just feel like you have just like a sense of optimism going into 2025. Now, obviously, there's a ton of guys on the 2024 roster that we don't want to see in 2025, and hopefully they won't make the cut. Smitty from around the 412 here, and while I may not have much hair, the hair that I do have will not be cut by anybody besides Keek at Keek's Barbershop. My friend Christian Circle, been with us since day one. Keek's Barbershop, located 401 Burkitch Way, Suite 2 in Beaver, PA. Download the app The Cut, book an appointment with Christian today, or you can do walk-in with Tony or Ashley. But again, Keek's Barbershop, 401 Burkitch Way, Suite 2 in Beaver, PA. Go check them out. Old school vibe in there. Absolutely love it. Cannot recommend them enough. Wouldn't go anywhere else. Maybe I'll see you there. So, Oneil Cruz definitely trending in the right direction. Hopefully, he can finish strong. The last thing that's been kind of fun to see is Andrew McCutchen having these moments still every now and then. You know, the other night in Cleveland, Brian Reynolds ties it with a 3-run homer, and then immediately McCutchen gives them the lead with a solo shot for them to hold on to take the win. So, you know, every now and then you're still seeing Kutch happen. He has 18 homers for the first time since 2021, I believe. He had 20-some. I know he was scratched from the lineup tonight. Derek Shelton basically just called him old when he asked why he got scratched. So, you know, we'll see how that goes. But it's been cool to see. You know, obviously, I want him to finish his career in Pittsburgh at this point. If that means re-upping for another 1 year or whatever he wants to do, I would definitely sign up for that with what he's still been able to provide. But other than that, yeah, I haven't enjoyed a ton of Pirates baseball recently. It's just been about watching some of the starting pitchers, Oneil Cruz, Brian Reynolds, sometimes Kutch. That's about it.
Less than a month left. Less than a month left. Pretty sad that we're counting down the days to the end of Pirates baseball. But then
here's the thing for me. I think at this point, it's just become intrigue because, like, I know that I say this a lot, but genuinely, when we've now seen Paul Skenes, we've now seen Jared Jones, and hopefully we've seen Oneil kind of transform into this all-around hitter that can hit lefties too. I think I said this last year, but I'll reiterate it, and it's now tenfold for me. This is the most important offseason for the Pirates in our lifetimes.
I agree with that. I think the foundation of a team that you can build upon is there. When you look at Brian Reynolds, when you look at what Oneil Cruz could be, pitching wise, you have a big three, so to speak, of pitchers, even though they got obliterated the other week. But still, I
got some complimentary pieces and Johan Oviedo coming back next year.
You got potentially a catcher in Joey Bart for the foreseeable future. Hopefully he could be your catcher number one. Maybe 2025 will be the year that Brian Hayes remembers how to bat. I don't know if that's going to be the case. Speaking of Oneil Cruz, one thing that I want to see from him, and mainly it's just because my prediction is looking bad. I would love to see more consistent home runs throughout the entire season. Like just more consistent.
I thought you were going to say stolen bases.
No. Mine was home runs because I said this could be the first guy since Willie Stargell to be a 40 home run hitter for the Pirates. He's only at 18. He's tied with Kutch at 18. Brian Reynolds currently leads the Pirates with 22. I would love to see some more power from Oneil Cruz just consistently. Like, obviously it's there. When he hits a home run, some of them are like 450 plus feet. but I just want it to happen on a more consistent basis. I'm not asking him to be an Aaron Judge. Just find the happy medium.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that's it. Not too many more of these shows during Pirates season, and we'll have to see how the off season goes. It'll probably be more like the Penguin schedule in terms of the podcast. Like, hey, did something happen? Do we have to record a podcast? That'll be how it goes for the Pirates shows during the off season, just to give you guys a heads up. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, hit us in the comments with your thoughts, anything that we talked about, any questions for a future episode, and then check out the description where we have a ton of stuff going on in the description. We got Rocked Around the 412 Year 7 going on, as Tyler talked about at the beginning. We got Game Changers links down there. Save yourself $10 using code AT412. And then, of course, our friend Haley Wagner, Small Business, Everything Custom Designs, where you can, well, you know what? I'll just tell you about them. Need a custom t-shirt, hoodie, tumbler? Stop what you're doing. Don't go anywhere else. Check out the link in the description. Everything Custom Designs. Our friend Haley Wagner, Small Business. She can do all that for you. She even does Around the 412 merch. T-shirts, hoodies, long sleeve tees, bunch of different stuff. I even got a tumbler from her as well. So go check out the link in the description. Goes directly to her Facebook page. All of her stuff can be found there. Again, Everything Custom Designs. Haley Wagner. She does great work. Can't recommend her enough. Go check it out. There we go. If you're listening somewhere else, Apple, Spotify, wherever your podcast from, be sure to leave us a 5-star review and subscribe over there. Hit us up on everything at Around the 412 on all socials. And that's it. For Smitty, for Tyler, this has been the Around the 412 Pirate Show. We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.